Hey everyone, Andres Gamboa here, and we are back with another episode of the Ponytails podcast, counting down to 200. Let's go! I'm so excited. 192 and counting. Welcome to the show. If this is your first one and not your 192nd episode, well, let me tell you a little bit about what we do. We interview people who sold books door to door for 80 hours a week on straight commission with no guarantees or a place to live in a different part of the country for a company called Southwestern Advantage. So these kids did just that for their summer internship, earned college credit, got to travel, and hopefully pay their way through school. Some had a great time, some not so much, and all of them come on here and tell us about it. Some sold 60 years ago, some sold just this last summer. Either way, we come together and hear about their experience and have them share what they're up to now and to see how that internship affected their trajectory in their life, whether it's professionally or otherwise. So hope you guys enjoy. Normally we get some pretty amazing stories or some pretty fun topics, interesting conversations. Everyone's different. All of them have been a blast. So if this is your first one, hit that subscribe button and go listen to a bunch of other ones. My guest today is Kora Severance. She sold from 2020 to 2022 for 3 summers, which is awesome. She sold during the first year of the pandy, which is great. Found her way. That's so awesome. I'm excited to hear about that. We don't get that many alumni who sold their first summer in that year. So it's kind of exciting. She was part of the Force organization, went to the University of Nebraska, but in Kearney, which is not a circus folk, it is a town, believe it or not. And it is an interesting place to be. Originally from the small town of Ord, Nebraska, but the mighty town, of course, of Ord, Nebraska. You can find her on Instagram if you want to get a hold of her after the show at the most underscore accorable, which is a pretty awesome handle. And you can find the link to that also in the description notes below. Her favorite scroll is I Will Laugh at the World, which is number 7. What a wonderful, wonderful scroll. When I come back, I'll be on with Kora. Yo. How's it going?
Pretty good.
Good. Glad to hear it. Let me pour some whiskey. You got wine, right?
Yes, I do.
Awesome. Folks listening along, we like to have a drink or two on the show, so makes it more fun for everyone. Awesome. Hey, thanks for being here. So excited.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I love talking to like more recent book kids about how the world has changed. My first summer was 10 years ago, like in 2012. Well, hell, almost 11 years now. And it's just like amazing how much has already changed because of technology and all that stuff. So excited to have you on. Thanks for being here. Oh, I also forgot to mention a couple of things. You were now a recruiter at in a corporate company, so we'll hear about that in just a second. And also, if you guys are listening in, and if you'd rather watch, we are on YouTube. But if you're not a book person that is listening in, we might refer to some items or to some terminology here and there that you might be like, what the heck does that mean? Odds are it's going to be on the screen. So if you want to know the definition of the slang for book people, it's on the screen there too. So you can also watch along. But anyway, let's jump in. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Awesome. So heck, why did you decide now was the last summer? Why did usually we just start right at the end of your career, which is 6 months ago. And how did you decide it was time to jump and move on and do different things?
Well, after my second summer, actually, I thought it was going to be my last summer, but I somehow ended up going out for a third one. So I just think I decided that, just with where I wanted to be in the future and kind of just like decided to focus a little bit more on my music and, just kind of trying something different. I loved my time in Southwestern, but I wanted to like hop out and see who I was, without it. And so I'm doing that now, and it's been really cool to have the friends still from the program, since I'm so like fresh out of the program. It kind of doesn't really feel like I'm out of Southwestern yet, but
yeah,
I'm like moving on, trying different things, and I think that's kind of the book kid in me. I just wanted to try something new and see how it worked out. So that's kind of why I decided to hop out after my third summer and work somewhere else for a little bit and start exploring my passions a little bit more.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I guess we don't. I was going to ask you about this at some point. We don't have to. We can wait a little bit, but I'm just pointing out that it's the more, at least the kids that are coming out of the Force organization, maybe the JYD organization, some of the organizations, to name just those two for now, but it seems that it's a lot more of a healthy exit than in
Sure.
years past and in a few years past, and that's kind of neat that that's how you felt about it and that you felt comfortable doing that. That's rare to hear from some of the previous or more removed alumni, if you will. I don't want to call
Sure.
them old because they're not old, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Mhm.
So maybe we'll get into that and how that transition went for you. But tell me a little bit about how did you ended up at the recruiting position that you're in now, and like tell me about the company and what you guys do, what your job looks like.
Yeah, so I'm working with a company called Aerotech now. So essentially, what I get to do is it's like a hiring agency, essentially here in Lincoln, but it's also a nationwide company. So it's all over the US. But essentially, what I get to do is hire for like manufacturing companies. So basically, they hire us to help fill their positions. So that's been it's been interesting to learn about manufacturing since I knew absolutely
Hmm.
nothing about it really beforehand. But it was kind of weird how I got into it. I was actually like heading back from my summer, like literally driving back from Nashville, and one of my best friends from high school, her name's Lily, she like asked me for my resume, and I was like, why? And she was like, because we have an opening at my job, and I just, like with your experience in Southwestern and recruiting, I think, it'd be like a really easy transition for you. And I was like, well, I'm like not really, I don't really want to like jump right into work. Like I want to kind of relax when I get back and do nothing for like a month or two. But I
Yeah.
gave her my old resume and she gave it to her boss. And about like a week after I got back, her boss reached out to me and asked to set up a coffee date, a little interview. And I met with her, and yeah, we kind of just talked about Southwestern the whole time. And I told her I wasn't like really looking for work in Nebraska because my ultimate dream is actually to like move out of Nebraska and pursue my music career. So I told her,
Nice.
yeah. So I told her, I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of looking for work, to save up a little bit, but not really. Like I wasn't really looking for a job, but she told me that she thought I'd be a good fit, and interviewed with her and then the director of the company, and then they offered me a position, and I thought I might as well give it a whirl and relax here in Lincoln for a little bit and
Yeah.
learn a new skill. So
Honestly, a couple of things on that. One, first of all, the power of the resume that you get from Southwestern
yeah.
is really unmatched. And I'm not
Mhm.
trying to like, because people hearing this are like, "Oh, you're
Yeah.
so pro Southwestern." The podcast isn't pro or against Southwestern. There is no denying that the bulletproof resume that you submitted got you a coffee interview and then that ascension. Right,
Mhm.
you've accomplished things that are worthy of you getting offers and that pace and that speed. And now I want to ask you a little bit about that. Second, great idea on staying in Lincoln and saving up some money. I live in
Mhm.
Portland now, and I'm trying to buy a house. I just put a couple of offers in today even, and like the expensiveness that it is to
Yeah.
move out of Nebraska,
Mhm.
it's good that you're building some savings because you're gonna need it when you move. It's
Yeah.
crazy. It's crazy.
Absolutely.
Now, I wanted to dig a little bit deeper onto that recruiting process of
Mhm.
in that transition. How was that process for you? I mean, we got the kind of general idea, but what were your feelings going forward? Because it didn't sound like you were planning on moving away from Southwestern. It sounded it was kind of maybe the time, and you had been thinking about it at the time or prior. But
Mhm.
what was ultimately the thing that led you to make that decision of, you know what, this is a good idea? How did you come to that choice?
Well, I think another reason I didn't really mention before, but I feel like my Southwestern career was a little bit unique just because after my, well, during my first summer, my student leader quit and went home. And then during my second summer, my other student leader ended up leaving the field. So I was like an orphan book kid. I got
Whoa.
adopted by your brother Danny into his little org.
Sound like your grand uncle or something.
Yeah, yeah. So I was a little orphan that was adopted. And so I think after completing my third summer, and I didn't have a lot of ties like in Southwestern anymore. Like my first years hadn't come out for another summer, and I kind of just felt like I was kind of being adopted into these other orgs. that I just decided, maybe this was a sign from God or whoever it may be to, move on and try something different. So I'm a pretty impulsive person, which is kind of how I got into Southwestern to begin
Yeah, you
with.
have to be to get recruited.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like,
That's not when you go home and ponder for 4 months.
no.
You're in.
Yeah. So when my friend Lily reached out to me, like literally on my way home, I was like, well, I probably better hear this out because this is pretty convenient that a job's just like dropping into my lap on the way home
Yeah.
from Nashville. So that's kind of why I decided to interview and get into it. Yeah. Weird timing. So, and I'm here now. I really like it. It's honestly a very similar type style of job as recruiting in Southwestern. So it's nothing new.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because you recruited a team. You
I
said
did.
that sounds like so. Okay.
Yeah.
And for people who don't know, in this particular episode and show, we don't do research prior because we believe in the connection that you build from just natural conversation. So sorry if you're like, how does he not know?
No, that's okay.
Yeah. But my curiosity. So what are some of the similarities? And then I'll ask you about some of the differences, but start with some similarities of like when you mentioned it's very similar job. What are like some things that you're like, wow, this is exactly the same?
Yeah, so it's phoning like pretty much all the time. So I phone every day, Monday through Friday.
Yep.
And on the weekends if I want
Got
to.
it.
But yeah, phoning and a lot of cold calls, just like calling random people, asking them if they're looking for work. So it's like the same conversation. You're like, hey, are you looking for something to do this summer? It's like the same thing.
Yeah. Now,
just
is the script the same?
They didn't give us a script really. Well, they kind of did. Like, I mean, in the training, there was like, proper ways to like introduce yourself and like leaving voicemails and like stuff like that. But I kind of just like created my own script based off of my full timing like phoning script on how I talk to people. So yeah, there's like not really a script for this job. It's kind of just like call people and be yourself and however you want to do it, you can do it.
So that was probably one of the differences. Sorry if that was.
Yeah. No. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot more like creative freedom in how you want to be successful at your job.
No, and before we continue with some similarities, do you feel like, I mean, it's very obvious what part of Southwestern training you're using here, right? It's like the amicability of like being able to get someone who you don't know to get to sit down for an opportunity for work. That's on its core what you just mentioned, similar. But what else of that experience gave you either confidence or did you feel like was useful from your Southwestern career besides like the cold call aspect to it?
For sure. I mean, the cold calling was no big deal to me, and sitting down with strangers after one phone call was no big deal, just because that's with recruiting you do that all the time, like 30 times a week if you're bringing enough kids to notebooks. But it's the same thing, just talking to people, building relationships over the phone with them, like enough that they think you're cool enough to come meet for an interview. Definitely was something that I felt more confident in. And gosh, I forgot what else I was going to say. I think that's the main thing. Other than that, oh yeah, talking out of your ass about things you don't know about. So like the learning curve, the learning curve from like learning all these different manufacturing jobs was so tough for me. Like it took me a long time to like actually know like all the details about these jobs. In Southwestern, it's like your first couple of weeks when you're trying to sell the product and you know absolutely nothing about it. And so, yeah.
And that's the thing about Southwestern that's so crazy is that you could have the best training that is probably all training does is increase maybe the probability of you doing well is a lot up to you. But what the training does is it kind of helps you I don't even know how to say this, but it helps you in a lot of ways, but there's no way to prep anyone.
No, I don't believe.
Like, there's no way. Like, training helps in some weird way, but the disadvantage of not having any training is it just helps you in the way that not having any that training is still, it's not indicative that you're going to do poorly. Like I didn't have any training and there's a lot of people that didn't and still did well. So that speaks to the fact that even though you could still spend a lot of time training, you're still not ready.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
It's
so crazy.
yeah. So that
So
was
you have to learn to talk out of your ass. You have to
Mhm.
learn.
It's a skill.
Okay,
Yeah.
that is a skill. And you're just
Yes.
like, oh yeah, and you kind of
Mhm.
feel like, have you seen Anchorman, the movie?
Yeah. Yes.
When they ask him, he's like, "Do you know what diversity is?" And he's like,
Mhm.
"Yeah, it's an old wooden ship that was used in the Civil War era." But it's just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
so talking about him. So
Mhm.
you feel like that in the summer a little bit, the first week
Yeah,
at least, anyway.
definitely. For sure. So yeah,
That's
that was like
awesome.
the first 6 weeks of my job. But
Yeah. So as far as also then like the schedule and all that stuff, I'm guessing those are maybe some of the differences then, right? Too
mhm.
is like what
Yeah.
maybe we can hop back and forth between similarities and differences, but what have you noticed has been the most different from your career recruiting for Southwestern?
Yeah, I mean the 80 hours a week is definitely a grind. And I mean, when you come back and you're working like a normal, well, I don't know, this is my first ever like corporate level job, which is like a
Yeah.
big difference for me. I've never like sat in an office all day like working. That's just yeah, that was extremely new to me.
Yeah.
So, it's like a similar grind. It's just a little bit it's probably more like comparative to the mental side of the grind of Southwestern where you just sitting in the office for like 10 hours a day, Monday through Friday, working like 50-hour weeks, sitting in a chair, calling people just all day long or interviewing. Or sometimes you get to leave and take them on a tour of like the facility. But it's, yeah, I don't know, it's different, because I mean, nothing's harder than working 80 hours a week in a place you don't know. But
Yeah.
it's a different kind of hard that I thought it would be to get used to sitting in an office for 50 hours a week. So,
Yeah.
mhm.
That's pretty wild. And I imagine the age of the people that you're recruiting can also be a lot more variable.
Yeah.
It's not like just college kids. So it's because when you that is a problem of recruiting. You're just used to recruiting college kids. So in a way, that is also a little bit of a obstacle when you're like talking to 55-year-old Hank
Yeah.
who wants to come work at what you know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
how have you adapted to that, or what have you noticed has been
For
the difference there?
sure. Yeah, it's a big difference. I definitely noticed that was one of my like least confident areas when I first started was it's a big like difference talking like you said to college students. Like I had zero problem, like being overconfident and, just feeling good about myself talking to college students because they believe you because you're in the same situation. But
Yeah,
yeah, when
you're
you're
relatable.
talking
Yeah.
yeah, when you're talking to like a 55-year-old guy who's looking for his place to retire in like a blue collar manufacturing job. You're like, so I'm 21 years old. This is
Yeah.
my first like real job, and I have to like get this guy to trust me and relate to me in some way. And just yeah, that was very difficult to have the
Hmm.
confidence in myself that they saw me as like an adult or like a professional. So I think the biggest thing was just letting myself believe at first, kind of a similar mentality as like, well, you are a professional, like you've done similar things. This is different, but you've done similar things. You're a badass, like you've done harder things. So just
A
like
little
going
self-talk.
there, yeah, self-talk a lot. My
Wow.
coworkers laugh at me because I talk to myself all day, but yeah, you gotta it's
So
awkward
good.
because yeah, we sit in a pit. It's like we're all just in the same room all day, and I'm just like at my computer like, it's all right, Cora, one more call. It doesn't matter this guy didn't show up. Like you're gonna call 10 more guys, have them come in for some interviews, and they're like, Cora, shut up. We're trying to talk on the
That's
phone.
awesome.
But yeah, so
Don't stop.
no, I won't. I can't. It's like trained now. I feel like I'm better at self-talking off the book field than I was on the book field now. But yeah, just like building that confidence that I belong here. And I feel more confident because I know more about the jobs and I know the industry a little bit better. So that builds
Mm.
confidence. Just the knowledge builds confidence. So
Yeah. Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I know I am. I wanted to give a quick shout out to the people that make this show possible, the people that bring this show to you. These are people who all sold books, and we're here to give a quick shout out to them in a spotlight. about their company and what they're up to. So if you're interested, or if after listening to this, you're kind of wanting to know a little bit more, feel free to click on the links below to connect with these people. These are from an excerpt I have with them from a podcast that I do on the side. It's called Executive Exercises, where we take all our sponsors and they come into a think tank and share some awesome ideas about how to grow their business specifically on different topics. Go check that out. But I pulled some of the comments that they had explaining what they do and who they're looking for on their companies. And so if that sounds like you, like I said, click below. Hope you enjoy. So that's yeah. And so money wise, and it just seemed like it was going to be the leads, which I wanted to go back to that because you mentioned this, and that's another thing that maybe Southwestern people don't understand is leads. And that's kind of like you're saying, basically, imagine you show up to a town to sell books, you send a postcard out to every single family that has kids in school or young children, asking them if they struggle with any of the following subjects, yes or no. Would you be interested in hearing about a product that might help you with all those subjects, yes or no, name and address, and then you just waited at your HQ for like a couple of weeks, and then you got in the mail like 700 people returning that postcard saying, come to my house, here's where I live. Hi, are you the mom of the house? Yes, and you've heard of you. Great.
Yeah. Is this your handwriting,
let's
Miss Betty? Yeah, that's my handwriting.
yeah.
You got a few minutes? It's again, you're not selling every single lead that you sit down with, but the leads is kind of what interested me because that kind of anxiety feeling that I talked about at Southwestern and the anxiety I had with Family Heritage, I honestly didn't think that was going to go away, but it has. It's gone away when I sold. You know, I still had a little bit of anxiety, but after that first knock, it goes away. But much less anxiety every week because I know I have fresh leads coming in. And so even if this day doesn't work out, I know I got typically our agents will get anywhere from 25 to 50 leads a week of people that they can go and call on.
I want people to understand what it is that you do, how you do it, why you do it, all of the good stuff. You hear a lot about coaching. You hear a lot about life coach, sales coach, business coach, yada, yada coach.
Man, I think just to start off, like what it isn't, it's not training. It's not showing up and having somebody talk at you for 45 minutes to an hour. And like the way that I look at it is we're all human beings. We're all broken in some capacity. And we all know a lot of the people that I work with, they know what they're supposed to be doing. They're just not executing on it, or they're not doing it as intentionally as they should be. Or they're just not focused. They have like 15 different goals or 15 different things that they're trying to balance or do. And because of that, like they're not as intentional as they should be at home, or they're not as intentional as they should be at work, and they're not picking up the phone and calling people. And it's like having a personal trainer for your business. It's having intention on why we do what we do every day and creating clarity and helping to build our lives and our calendars around what our future goals and intentions are.
That'll do for now. Like I said, make sure you click below to get some more information. And now back to the show. Well, what's the biggest thing that you've noticed or learned or that's shocked you about the manufacturing industry that you didn't know?
Man, I don't know. There's a lot of different things that I just didn't. There's like so many jobs that you just don't think about. Like one of the places we hire for is a corrugated cardboard facility, which they just literally like. There's a difference between just cardboard and corrugated cardboard. So
what?
Yeah, which I know
Learn
now.
me something. What is the difference?
You know, like cereal boxes are like flat cardboard. You know, like it's like paper, and then corrugated cardboard is like the boxes, like cardboard boxes that are like
it's a different kind of cardboard. It's called it's called what?
Corrugated. It's corrugated.
Like corrugated with like your name?
Corrugated. Yeah.
Is it spelled with a K too?
No, it's a C, like most other things. Yeah. But corrugated.
You
slapped it up there.
You know, there. Oh, we got it in the chat. Corrugated. Oh, it'd be cool if it was K-O. I don't know that. That's a. But you know, you could tell people, like, I don't know if like maybe on your Instagram profile or if you're ever on like a dating app, you can be like, most people are just not corrugated. I'm corrugated.
Corrugated, yeah.
Which means there's just more to you. There's more. You're deeper.
I'm thick, yeah.
No, I'm thick. I guess if that's a pride point for you, I would say for sure. I'd be like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? That's a term for that's a term people of the Gen Zers are using, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
For like an attractive, be like, I'm so thick, I'm corrugated.
Corrugated.
Boom. That could be like a mixtape song.
I'm gonna make that my Instagram bio.
For sure.
And
then only people who know cardboard, imagine. And then all of a sudden people who know cardboard would be like, oh my God. That's
Oh my
fucking
God,
awesome.
she's hilarious. Yeah.
It's like an inside joke with book
Mhm.
people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there you go. Now all the ponytails people will know, and only them.
Only, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so thick, I'm corrugated. I'm gonna say
Yeah.
that about myself.
Yeah, I think it's good.
I'm not fat, I'm corrugated. That's what I'm gonna
Yeah,
say.
corrugated. Hmm.
There we go. Or maybe you're getting like super fit and thick.
Yeah,
Like, bro, you're
that's
getting
corrugated.
corrugated.
Yeah,
Because that
that's
just makes
right.
you more firm. So
Yeah,
it's
just
not
stronger.
really like a obese thing. It's like more like a thick, like Arnold Schwarzenegger or The Rock or
Yes.
J-Lo.
Yeah. Yes. Precisely. Hmm.
Corrugated. Wow.
Yeah.
We're getting so deep here. We're
Yeah.
getting so deep
it's-
in corrugation. Okay, so there's a lot of different types of manufacturing things.
Yeah,
That
just
is
lots of jobs you wouldn't think about. It's interesting, for sure.
wow. What's your favorite job to place for?
Probably there's a concrete facility here that I like it because they pay really well, and so it's easier to to get people to work there. But I also think it's a place that I would enjoy working because I mean I grew up in a small town, like farm work, like farmhand kind of. That was my job for like 9 years when I was a kid. So
Or
yeah. Or started off detasseling at 13 and worked there till I graduated high school. So
yeah.
but
Ord puts the
yeah.
ord in ordinary.
It does. Yep.
Sure.
We had a holiday for our hometown, actually. I don't know if they do it anymore. It's called Extraordinary Days.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's because that's what people do in Ord. Nothing.
Yep,
They have to come
nothing.
up with.
With
have to come up with- I'm not trying to shit on your hometown.
no,
But
I shit on Ord probably more than anyone that I know.
as you should.
People from
As
Ord.
you should.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
as
do.
you should. I've been to Ord and I'm like, wow, there is you blink and you go through the
Mhm.
town. Like you
Yep.
didn't even realize how many
Yeah.
people? 500 people maybe?
2,000. You're
Okay.
shorting
So
us a little bit, but yeah.
so 500.
Yeah.
My high school was bigger than that.
Okay, well, well, it's small.
There's inner city schools with graduation classes that big,
Yeah,
probably.
there are probably
wild.
here. I don't know.
Wow. That's awesome. That's so cool. Manufacturing. That's the kind of stuff that you never even think about. Like
No, you
they make
don't.
everything.
You don't have to. It's they just
They
take
make-
care of it.
They make everything. So when was this transition from what part of, like, because we're in January now, so
Yeah. So I got home in like September, and then started work in October. So I had like a month off. Yeah, I was pretty quick, quicker than I
Wow.
anticipated, but it's fine. I'm kind of glad I hopped back into it because even that month, like in between the summer and work, like I felt like the laziest person in the entire world. Like it's the worst coming off the summer and doing nothing. It makes you feel like a piece of shit.
Yeah, it feels like it's kind of like crashing a Formula One car or something where you're
Mhm.
just going so fast,
So
top
fast,
speed,
and
and then you go to nothing, and it's like,
Mhm.
what?
Yeah, it's crazy.
You can't even enjoy it. You can't even
Mm-mm.
enjoy it like that first month.
No, you have to
That's
get
what you-
you have to get past that like first month. You almost have
Yeah.
you like can't even do it. In my opinion, I like enjoyed being back and just like working a normal job. Felt like a break for a while. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
this
No,
is
I
great.
believe it.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's crazy. But then you went right into it. Whoa.
Yeah.
And then so now
Mhm.
we're sitting here 3 months later, and now would you say, like, how are you doing? How do you feel like do you feel like you have a competitive advantage because of your experience, or do you think
Oh, yeah.
maybe it's more okay?
No, I
That's cool.
do. Yeah. I actually met an alumni of Southwestern that works for this company now. She was an old JYD girl and she knew Ryan Groom. And my director, he was like, I know a girl that, like, I remember her telling me she did Southwestern. So I'm going to connect you guys. And so
What's her name?
God, I'm going to feel like an asshole.
We'll get
Emily,
it later. Don't
like
worry.
Knob. Yeah, I'll look it up. It's on my
Okay.
computer and I'm using it, so I don't want to look now.
That'd be
but
great.
Yeah,
It'd be good.
Yeah.
It'd be cool to interview her too, to see how her experience has
Yes.
been as well. That's awesome. Tell
Yeah,
about
and
us.
she said
That's
there's
awesome.
there's a couple of them up. I think they're in Minnesota. So that work for the Minnesota branch. So yeah, that was cool to meet those guys. And I know when I first started this job, I didn't feel like I was doing very good because it's kind of similar. How do they like track your progression? So it's a commission plus like salary base plus commission in the job. So instead of
nice.
making, this is literally just like Southwestern for adults, this job. It's like not units, but spread is what they call it. So you make like a certain amount of spread off of every person that you hire. So I was, I was like I was 2,000 something, 300 something in spread after it was like my 5th week in doing the job. And I had no idea what that really like meant, because my boss is like, she's very much like, she reminds me of my student leader, Shayna Short, a lot. She's like not quick to compliment you. She's just like going to push you and keep like, she kind of just makes me think that I'm not doing a very good job, because she knows that's what works for me.
And the best way of saying that, yes.
Yeah, it's like she doesn't want to compliment me too much. And no, I think it's great. That is what works for me. But I had no idea where I was at. And so I hopped on this chat with the Southwestern alumni, and she was like, "No, you're doing great. Like, that's really good. Like, you keep it up, keep going." And I was like, okay, good.
Sure.
Yeah, okay, good. And so yeah, I feel like I'm doing well. With the new year, things dropped a little bit, but it's a new year, so we're gonna pick back up. But yeah, I feel like I started pretty quickly, and I've got a handle on things now. And yeah, it's just a matter of time before they have like a Sizzler trip too that I can win. So yeah, so I'm gonna win it this year. That's like my goal. I'm like, first year, Cora's going to Sizzler. So we're going to Aerotech Sizzler. That's my goal. So I've got, we set a goals, and I'm gonna do it. So.
Wow. Speaking of adult Sizzler, we do have our Bizzler trip coming up, everybody listening, October 15th to the 19th. Cora, you should come. It's going to be in Montego Bay, Jamaica, October 15th through the 19th. It's about 1,500-ish a pop. So it's like a GRG resort. So I'll see you there. I'll see you there, Cora.
Okay.
That's so cool. And you have book people that are there. That is so fun. That is so fun.
It's been neat.
Now, so maybe I'll talk to you about this, because that's actually kind of part of the reason that this podcast was invented or created, was because when you meet a book person and you connect with them on that, it's a really unique conversation, experience, connection. Did you experience some of that with the alumni that you met? Yeah.
It's like you don't even really have to like introduce yourself. You like already know all the slang, and like you just it's like I don't know how to describe it. It's like your long lost cousins or something. You're like connecting all the dots with like your grandparents and like family things that only you guys would know. And so we just like, we didn't talk super long, but like we got along really quick, and we knew what we were talking about, and it was easy. So
that's so funny. And so did they sell for multiple summers like you did, or were they more like just one summer people? Do you know?
Yeah, I think she said she sold, I think it was like 6 or 7 summers, and she met her husband in Southwestern too.
Look
and he
at
sold
that.
for like similar amount. Yeah. So
that's so funny.
Yeah.
So what I think is the funniest about that is that, like, especially the more, I mean, there's nothing wrong with just doing one summer, but with people who sell more than one summer, it's the connection's even more intense or more strong. It's just stronger, because you just like have extra. Like if you recruited and got that aspect of it too, you're like, oh, this is it's more than just like oh, I did that too. It's crazy.
No, I think the recruiting part is a big part of like what changes it, from like a first year who just did one summer to like come back for a second. If you tried to recruit, like you get it a little bit extra more, like you get it.
That's the full experience.
I agree.
And here's the thing: I don't know that everyone should go sell books. I don't know that everyone should recruit. I'm not trying to say this, but if you are selling books, and especially if you did okay, you should try to recruit as well, because then you get the full scoop.
That's kind of where I'm at too with it. I get calls all the time from students who are like interviewing for the program still, because on the like paper I'm still written as like list. And I'm written as a music major, even though I like switched out of that pretty quickly. So anyone that's in arts or like a woman calls me because they're like, how the heck did music like apply at all to this internship? And I was like, well, I ended up switching out of music, so I don't know if I'm like really the greatest person to talk to about it. But I've changed my mentality. When after my first or even my second summer, when people call me, I was like, you got to come sell books. Now I'm just like more focused on just being like, you know what, just like do whatever you want to do, but like just decide to do it. Like, just do whatever you're going to do and do it 100%. And yeah, like, of course, I still think everyone should sell books, but I don't think it's like realistic that everyone can or will want to.
That's
so fair. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. But yeah, again, with like talking, I remember after my second summer when I had my team, neither of my first years came back, but they were great first years. And I remember I was really pissed that they didn't come back for a second summer, because I think they would have been great leaders. They would have been amazing. I wish they would have recruited. I'm not mad they didn't, because they both moved on to great things and they're doing what they love. But that's like, I wish everyone that came out for one would come out to try a second. A second, for sure.
That's absolutely fair. Well, congratulations. It sounds like you're off to a hot start, and that you're really enjoying and getting challenged in the right ways to grow.
Yes, I agree.
That's awesome. Heck yeah. I didn't want to ask you about it because you've alluded to this a couple of times, and I guess I don't know. You can feel free to share as much as you want about this, but so you sing, dance,
I do.
play music. What do you do? What do you? Or you said music, so I'm assuming you're a singer. But or do you play piano? Oh, okay, so you're a singer. Okay.
I do a lot.
Tell me more. This is interesting. So I love this.
I grew up in a very musical family. My dad was in a band from like age 14 until he married my mom and had his first kid. So he was a drummer. So he's got the musical side. Drummer. Yeah.
Let's go. That's a sweet story.
Denise got caught up by a drummer. But Denise.
What's your dad's name?
Darcy Severance.
Darcy with that drum, that rhythm.
Yep.
That rhythm got to Denise.
Yes.
It was beating at Denise's heartbeat.
It was, yeah, I guess.
And then here you are. So anyway, so your dad's musical.
Yes, and my mom always loved music, but she was pretty shy growing up. So I think that was a big reason why she pushed us to get involved with music and stuff like that pretty heavily. So all of us started playing piano at like age 5, or like right before we started kindergarten. We all started to do piano lessons. She made us all at least start, piano lessons and do it for a couple of years. And some of us, like my oldest sister, Kristen, kind of dropped off in junior high because she was more into sports. Mom's like, fine, you like sports, you can do sports. Carly, my second older sister, stayed with it till she graduated. Same with me. I did piano lessons, choir, band, all the above till I graduated, and then went to college for it. My little sister did it till she graduated, and my little brother still does piano, and he's in high school. So we all did piano lessons for years. Yeah. And then, I went to college as a music education major. That's what I started at UNK. And I was a vocal primary.
Great. It's a great program at UNK.
Great music program.
My cousin went through that program. He was through guitar. And then we had another book guy on here, Phil Zolke, who is in Southwestern Real Estate now. Shout out Pat Roach in Southwestern Real Estate. And he was an incredible singer. And both of them had really high praise. I went to school for music in Lincoln. And it often sometimes would be for people who had transferred from UNK, and they would say that it was like much better at UNK. So that's freaking awesome that you did that. So you started there. Yeah, I heard that. I heard that
it's just smaller and close knit, and your professors just like really care about each individual student. I think that's the biggest difference, is it's smaller. So you just get more attention. Especially if you're talented, like they're going to give you everything you need, to be successful. So, but I started there as a vocal primary. I sang, was that because you have to pick like a primary instrument, so my voice.
I was going to ask you. Yeah.
I didn't want to play. Well, I like playing piano, but I was kind of over like the classical piano stuff. I just kind of liked doing it as a hobby. And then I played a lot of instruments in band, but I didn't want to like pick one. So I just decided to sing because that's something that I felt I was pretty decent at as well. And so
do you have music out there?
No, I haven't. I have not released anything. That's like a big, that's a dream of mine, but I haven't gotten to a place where I feel like I want people to hear it yet. So
ooh, I was going to ask you, like, we should play something.
No, not yet. But that's definitely something I want to do. I'm a perfectionist, so until I feel really good about it, no one's gonna hear it. So
that's not good.
It's okay. Good. One of these days.
It's not good for art. It's not good for art because art isn't. That's what makes it art.
Yeah, that's true.
And beautiful. And human.
Yes, but we'll see. Maybe soon. But so I did that, and after I started Southwestern. It was COVID. Okay, yeah. I was like trying to retrack my story. So my spring semester of my freshman year is when the pandemic happened and I got kicked off campus and had to go live in my parents' basement and finish my freshman year of college over Zoom, which is incredibly difficult as a music major.
As a vocal music major.
A vocal music major where you're like on Zoom calls, like singing
through
classical
Zoom, where Zoom's audio quality is
trash. And you have to sing in like enunciated Italian and you're like, it's awful. It's really not good. And so did that. And then it was like April, late March. It was around my birthday. So it was like late March when I got a DM from some random guy that went to UNK and I like stalked his page. I was like, who is this? And he was asking if I was interested in hearing about summer work opportunities. And I was like,
yes,
I was like,
go.
Yeah, I am, because I'm living in my parents' basement right now in a global pandemic and I need to get out of here.
And then you got started with Zoom sales, which is really funny.
Yes.
That's a whole different story.
So I met on a Zoom call with Shayna. She held my info. It was like me and two other girls. I don't think either of them were ones that ended up selling, but it was me and two other people on the Zoom call. And I remember actually the first time I hopped on it, it was really funny. There were so many things that were like trying to prevent me from doing Southwestern, like the pandemic. Then I remember the first time I tried to hop on the Zoom call, my computer wouldn't work. So I like couldn't hear anything she said. And so I just like got off the Zoom call. I just left. And then like my student leader reached out to me again, like an hour after it was over. And he was like, hey, where'd you go? And I was like, oh, my internet wasn't working. And he's like, do you want to come to another one? And I was like, yeah, sure. Okay. So I went to another one, another info. And
you're a pony.
I was, yeah, I really was. And so I went back to the info with Shayna again and some other random people. And I heard about it and I don't really remember, like, I don't know if I was taking it very seriously because it seemed like I was kind of, I'm a pony, but I'm also kind of skeptical. I'm an overthinker. So I was like, this sounds like a little bit too good to be true. And I'm also from like a very sheltered family. Like I didn't do a lot until I went to college. So I was like, yeah, right. Like my mom's not going to let me like go away during a pandemic and live in a different state. I don't know anyone else doing this. And so I was like, yeah, I don't know. But then they said travel. And that was like in the back of my mind, like just leaving a word was like goal number one for that summer. I was like, I need to get out.
All you wanted was out of your parents' house.
That and
let alone out of Nebraska.
In Nebraska, yeah. So I was like, okay.
Which fair enough, because living in Nebraska is like living in a pandemic. Not from the sense that you have to stay home, but from the sense that you don't really leave your state. It's like some weird magnetic pole that keeps people there.
I'd never really left Nebraska before. Like I went on a family vacation to the East Coast with my family my sophomore year of high school, and that was it. Like that was
and you flew.
Yeah.
So it was just like you saw a quarter of a city.
Yeah.
And then you
go back.
And you went back.
So I didn't.
So, sorry, just so I can put it into a face, who was your student manager? Who's the person that DM'd you?
So Barbaro Banal, he was one of Shayna's first years, the year prior. So he was fresh off his first summer and came back, recruited me. I was his only first year. And
I see.
Yeah, did everything training over Zoom. And
with him?
Yeah, with Barb. And we met like with our org like weekly. I think we do it weekly and just like meet each other as we kept like adding on. And then that summer was really weird too because we left like 2 or 3 weeks before typical sales school started and lived with each other in Airbnbs in Kansas for 2 weeks.
Yes, I remember.
Which was weird as heck. It was really weird for me
because. And for people who don't know, that's not normal. That's in the history of the company. It's been done one time because of COVID. Yeah. So, because I was living with Justin Weeblehouse and Seth Hood and Paul Tyndall and Nick Weeblehouse and the occasional like couch surfer that would just show up there.
Tanner.
So all these. Oh, Tanner. That's right. Tanner Nappy. And there was like, every once in a while we get like some person come in and I may be tan, but he'll always be Tanner. And he like these. I mean, Kenzie Jensen was over all the time. What
Okay.
I'm trying to say is I was really connected with all of
Mhm.
these book kids right before, like when the pandemic hit. Like I
Mhm.
was living with them, and
Yeah.
so we basically quarantined together. So I
Mhm.
was like there when they were trying to like have phoning parties to full timers, because like 4 of them were
Mhm.
full timing.
Yeah.
It was really crazy to hear and see. Like I was there when they were doing the Zoom call for like your campus meeting, or like for the Dan
Mhm.
Moore meeting, or the parent meeting, the parent
Yep.
coffee and all that. I was watching. I'm like, whoa, this is so surreal that
Mhm.
this is happening. And to
Yeah.
you, that was normal, right? To you, that was
Yeah,
like,
it
well,
was. My first
that's just
summer, I
what
was like,
happens.
okay, yeah, just going along with
Yeah.
it. But
Yeah, but
yeah, that
for people who didn't know, that it was really weird, like
yeah,
just so strange. And then so I do remember this. So you all met in
in
Airbnbs and you went to
Kansas,
go
yeah.
sell in Independence, right? In that
Well, yeah, so
Yeah.
they were just like random Airbnbs that we booked, and we didn't know how, like they didn't tell us how long we were going to be in Kansas because we didn't know if we were going to be able
Right.
to go sell. Like so
Right.
we learned how to sell online, and that was like my first 4 customers was just like
So
friends
weird.
and family back home that I sold to online. And so I got like which was kind of nice, you know, looking back, like thinking about how that probably helped me a ton as a first year, probably really boosted my confidence compared to, you know, I don't know what it would have been like if I just went straight to sales school and then selling. But living in an Airbnb for 2 weeks, doing online sales school and selling like online to friends and family really like broke the ice. So by the time we finally went to sales school, we went to real sales school for a week after that, and then went to sell. So I had like 3 weeks of sales school essentially, which was really nice. But
So strange. Well, and here's what's crazy about that too, and it's so funny because, and this is something I know from multiple accounts, so
Mhm.
nobody's at fault here, but a lot of the first years did phenomenal with that, because that
Yeah.
was just
Mhm.
again, that's your normal.
Mhm.
Oh, what do we do? We go to sell through Zoom, and then we go to sales school.
Yeah.
That makes as much sense as anybody else.
Mhm.
But the managers, particularly the managers that were going on multiple summers, had a hard
Time. Yeah.
time
Yeah.
doing
It was
that. Like
interesting. Mhm.
it was so, when I was listening in and like paying attention, I was like, this is so weird that this
Mhm.
is happening. Like you would expect them to be masters, but they were first years like you, who had to unlearn. That says something about like what it takes to unlearn
Yeah.
uh, something that is no longer, or not no longer, but at that point not valuable to you, that
Mhm.
you have been just practicing. That's so strange.
Yeah,
So strange.
absolutely. So yeah, weird first summer, but yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think that's probably the only reason I was a top first year was the 3 weeks of sales school. 'Cause
Yeah, I
was
mean that's
probably
great for
pretty good at
you.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. So
Mhm.
where did you go when you actually went to go?
I was in Ohio. It was like southeast Ohio along the river, and I lived in a
Amish.
town called Pomeroy. So yeah, Amish.
Amish life.
Yep, Amish
Wow.
country.
We had the #1 world producer of 2017, I think it was her summer,
Mhm.
where she was selling right there,
Yeah,
and she
it's good
sold
turf.
only to Amish people. Yeah. So,
It's good stuff.
so what was that like? Your first store, their first day, or your first customer, whatever. Those first, walk me through like the first time, for example, that you knocked on a door. Was probably nobody
So
was home.
yeah, I know. Well, so I didn't think about it too much because honestly, like with since I'm trying.
I think we lost. Oh, hold on a sec. Oh no, we might have lost signal for a second. Okay, while we resolve the technical difficulties, a couple of announcements, everybody. Okay, one, like I said before, a couple more details about our Bizzler trip that we have coming up. Things you might want to know. First of all, it's going to be in October, from October 15th through the 19th. Make sure you guys sign up on. There's going to be a link below. It says "Come to Bizzler." If you like, scroll up on the episode notes, or if you're watching on YouTube, just scroll up. There's a link that you can fill out. It's going to have a lot more details there. Like I said, it's $1,575 per person, and that's because we're staying at a really nice resort. It's going to be the Hilton Resorts in Montego Bay, Jamaica. Woo! So that's exciting for us. Make sure you sign up on that link, just so you guys know. And I'm going to go ahead and address this just because it's been asked by a couple people. Technically, you can go book that yourself without using our link. A couple things to note about that. Our link includes transportation and insurance for your trip as well. So that way you are covered in case you need to go. But you'll find it's only, I think it's like $190 to a couple $100 more for all that stuff, which is really convenient if that's what you want to do. Plus, you can support the show, and that's something that we really would appreciate from you. It's just if you could support us that way. So again, it's an alumni reunion that's going to be happening in Jamaica. More details on that. That does not include flights, by the way. The flights would have to be taken care of separately to make sure that you guys can get there. Also, next thing is I wanted to announce is the neighborhood. So if you guys haven't heard about this yet, this is huge. Honestly, it's a big project that we're trying to take on, and we're just going to take it one bite at a time, or one pony at a time, which is you guys. So if you're an alumni of Southwestern, what we're doing here at the show is we are creating what is going to be a genealogy tree for alumni. So that's right. Like kind of like ancestry.com type of idea, where all you have to do is fill out a form. You can find that link below as well. Just click on the link below and make sure you guys submit that form. It's going to ask you the basic questions: name, what you're up to now, the years, like years of date, like dates that you sold, the number of summers you sold, who recruited you. And then there's a bunch of other optional information you can put on there. Just so you guys know, your public information will not be made public or to available to any other alumni. All we're going to post is the years that you sold. We are going to not, we're not going to sell any of those, third party companies or anything like that. We are keeping that information private. You can even opt out from emails, or if you don't want us to contact you at all, that's totally fine too. You can opt out as well. But basically, you just sign up for the neighborhood. You fill out that form. It's going to ask you all those questions. It's going to ask you if you want to support us financially. If you do so, we will have you can opt in to have your information be public, and that we charge so that way people can network you. So maybe you're someone who is recruiting or you're looking to find a job. If you want people to contact you, that's a small fee that we charge for you to do that. It's $25 or $50 a year. You get to pick the price. There's no difference to from the standpoint of services. It's just if you want to support financially and you want it to go to a good cause, that is what we're doing. So that's the neighborhood. Everything here on the show is horse related. So be sure you sign up for that. Kora's back, so we can have her come back on. I think her computer decided to restart is what I'm hearing. But we're all set here to go, and I'm gonna bring her back up. Here we go. Boom. Welcome back.
Nice.
Lost you for
that
a
was
sec.
the quickest restart ever too. Perfect.
Great. Yeah, it worked.
Yeah.
And it allowed me to get some information out there that I actually really needed to get out.
Nice.
And the neighborhood. So it worked out perfectly.
Cool.
I want to go back. So you were talking about we were talking about the first time that you were able to knock and that you got out there. So pick back up wherever you want there.
Yeah, so it was really weird that summer, thinking back now, it was really weird because kind of my first summer, I know COVID was going on, but once we finally got out to the summer, COVID just didn't really feel like a thing in Ohio, at all. People there were very relaxed about COVID, which was really nice for a first summer during a pandemic, because that was something I know a lot of first years were really worried about. That was a big objection, a lot of first years were worried about. So, and I mean, I wasn't super worried about it, but I mean, it was definitely something I was worried about getting objected at the door for, is COVID. And so I remember just not really being a problem my first summer, which was great. There were definitely families I met that they were a little more COVID conscious, but just having the attitude of just making it work, was something that you just had to pick up really quick your first summer. So there were a lot of, I remember my first door, the lady, I knew I was so scared. This was how the whole summer was going to be. Cause I remember I knocked on the door, took my 3 steps back, and I was standing side profile and just looking around, and she opened the door and the screen, and she just wouldn't open the screen door, and she would not. And so I smiled and waved and backed up a little bit and introduced myself, and she still wouldn't come outside. And I was like, that's okay. You can stay in there. I can talk to you through the door if you want, and did my approach. And she was really nice. And I don't think her objection was even COVID related. I can't even remember what her objection was, but she eventually ended up shutting the door on me. And I was like, man, this is going to be tough. And so
a weird summer. Yeah.
Yeah. Just cause, and I didn't really have a perspective of, since it was my first summer, but I knew just from hearing student leaders talk that it was different. So, yeah, that was kind of like honestly, a lot of the training my first summer was about like getting past the COVID objection. And as the summer went on, it like I said, it didn't really feel like COVID it wasn't really a barrier for me. Like it just became a way of, that was just another thing. And so, sitting, talking to people through screen doors, or like they'd open up their window and you're talking through the window screen, or, wearing masks and sitting 6 feet apart on the porch and stuff like that, like was just pretty common my first summer. And there were even some families that it didn't matter, they were just like pretty cool with it.
Yeah. You were in small town Ohio.
Yeah.
It's like selling an ord.
Yeah. Pretty chill, lay back. Yeah.
Trump's America. That was, which is, and yours, where you're at, that's
where I'm from.
It is what it is. That's what you do.
So it was pretty relaxed.
Yeah. That's super interesting. I also heard that summer that only like one kid all summer got COVID.
Yeah. It was like, we kept track of our temps every day, and like if we didn't feel good, we were really careful about it. But yeah, I don't even remember feeling scared that I was gonna get COVID. Like I didn't even really think about it. Like about 3-4 weeks in, it was just like I just kind of forgot about it. It became normal, and yeah, I don't know.
That's so cool. I mean, it's it's just book people. It's like book people, right? We're like, hey, this is a situation. It's real. We have to acknowledge that it's real.
Yeah,
it's an obstacle. It's touchy. It's delicate, but we're gonna navigate it and we're gonna figure it out. And you did, which is incredible. That's amazing.
Yeah.
What did it feel like when someone bought the first time on the field?
Yeah, I remember my first customer. It was like my second or third week, I believe, and it was like this grandpa. I remember he was one of the families that could care less about COVID.
Wait,
and
so you said your second or third week?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow. So
yeah,
it took you. It was well, I mean, you were still a top first year, so it doesn't matter when you got the units. But some people get off to a fast start and slow down. Some people get off to a slow start and speed up. So it sounds like that was more you're on
slow
that route.
Start.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll ask you more about that. Finish about the gentleman, the old man, but I have some questions about that, because that's really speaks to your persistence and your perseverance. It's awesome.
Yeah. So I remember the street in particular. I was having quite a bit of luck with sit downs. Actually, I was getting quite a bit of sit downs. Like I'd sat down with all of his neighbors, but no one would buy from me. And they were all, this was awful. They were all grandparents. Like I was sitting down with all the grandmas and grandpas watching kids, because I don't know like how it was everywhere else, but a lot of people didn't really get laid off in my turf. Like they were still working like in the mines or like other places. It was a lot of like mines and mostly like coal mines,
manual labor, industrial,
and a lot of them were still working. So because a lot of them were probably essential workers, and so, but yeah, there's a lot of grandparents home with kids, and that's just how it is too over there. Is a lot of in a lot of situations, a lot of grandparents are raising their grandkids. So that's just a lot of the sit downs you get. And I remember this old man. I was walking down the sidewalk, and his grandson was standing at the gate just like waiting for me to get there, and his grandson threw a rock at me. I remember. I was like, wow, okay. And I tried to like ignore it because I didn't want to like, because the grandkid was like out in the lawn by himself. I didn't even see the grandpa, so I was like, this kid's just out here by himself. Like I'm gonna leave. I can come back because I know there's a kid there, but I'm not going in that fence with a kid just hanging out in the lawn. So he threw a rock at me.
Way to read the room. Or the yard, I guess. Way to read the yard.
He threw a rock at me, and I just kind of like smiled at him, and then I heard the grandpa start yelling at him, and I was like, oh shit. And so I like stepped away, like stepped back from the kid, and just started cheesing, like waving at the grandpa. I was like, hey, hey.
How you doing, Bob?
Yeah. He was like, who the heck are you? And I was like, oh, I'm the book girl. Like, didn't like you haven't heard of me? And he was like, no. Do you want to come inside? And I was like, yep. And so I went inside, and we ended up sitting on the porch anyway, and he got me some drinks, and I sat down with him, and his son was there. He was taking care of the kid mostly, but the father was there as well. And I sat down with him. I remember it was my first like kids sales talk. I'd only been selling like, or like going over the core 4 stuff. It was like my
or as you might call them, The corrugated books.
The corrugated books, yeah. The corrugated four, yeah.
The corrugated four.
Yeah. So it was like my first kid sales talk, and I was like, I did not feel confident at all. I was just trying to really sell the kid on it and just like laughing a bunch, like having him point at the books. And I remember the grandpa's just like, yeah, these are great. Like, I think he really likes them. I was like, yeah, he does really like them. And he was like, I think we should get them. And I was like, oh, okay, well. And he like picked out, yeah. I was like, okay. And he picked out the Ask Me's, and we got them all signed up and wrote me the check and gave me a bunch of pre-approach. And I remember I was so like giddy because it was like I think it was my third week out, and I was getting real down on myself because I had a short summer. I only got to sell for 8 weeks my first summer. So
right, because you were selling over on Zoom for a while.
Well, yeah, that, and I was in marching band in school, so I had to go back 2 weeks earlier.
Man, so you had a short
summer. So I was like, shit, my summer is almost halfway over, and this is my first customer, but damn, it feels good. So let's do it again. But yeah,
I have so many questions about that. Okay, so so 0 days are tough.
Yeah.
If it was your third week, you had to have done at least 15 of them in a row to start. What kept you up there? Because and I'm only speaking, this from people who don't know might be like thinking I'm asking a mean question, but you understand what I'm saying. You recruited first years. And so normally speaking, when a first year student is out there on their third week, they haven't sold anything yet. It's a red flag from a management standpoint, because you're like, holy cow, we might have like brought this kid out here to eat some shit for a while, and it's like, it's tough, so there's concern there. You're scared that they might quit. You're scared that they might feel like angry or resentful. It's kind of a nervous thing. So how did you manage to stay? Like, what kept you out there?
Yeah. So my first summer, I had an incredibly strong emotional purpose, and that was the only reason that I probably made it my first summer. And so this is going back a little bit. So my freshman year of college, I started school in August, and then literally like a month after I started school, my dad had a really bad injury. He fell off of my sister's roof and hit his head on the cement and had to be life flighted to Omaha for emergency surgery. So they had to take out a large chunk of his brain, and basically he was in basically a heavy sedation or pretty much a coma for, I can't even remember how long it was, but he was not he lost a lot. So he was in a coma for a while, and they told us when he woke up, they weren't sure if he would be able to talk or walk or he would remember us or any of those things. So that happened a month into college, like my first month of being an adult and being away from my family. And that was an incredibly tough time. And so being away for school for that, and then having to move back home, my dad was finally back home from the hospital during COVID. But that was really tough to live with my dad, and he wasn't able to talk. He could walk, but he was obviously like his motor functions were very like messed up, and he was in a very fragile condition where COVID was especially a big deal to my family, where even my siblings couldn't come over to like hang out and quarantine with us for a long time because my dad was high risk. If any of us got sick,
absolutely.
he could die. And so living in that situation with my family, like one of the toughest situations of my life during a pandemic, just like both of those things happening at the same time, was like probably the most difficult thing that's ever happened to me in my entire life. It was incredibly challenging to be home during that and have to be strong for my two younger siblings who were still in school, and for my mom who lost her husband, essentially for that amount of time. And, he's recovering now, but, during that time he was not, who my mom married. And so having to be home through all of that and support each other through that was really tough. And so going out for my first summer was a really hard choice. It was a really big decision to leave my family during that time. And so when I decided to do that, it was a little bit selfish, where I needed to get away from my family because it was a lot. And
it was best for you.
It was. And at at that time I felt really selfish for doing it.
Yeah, I bet it must have been an incredibly difficult feeling, like you're leaving them in the kind of like it feels like that's when they most need you.
Yep, and I decided to
And
leave.
you're leaving. Yeah, so that's a tough thing to weigh against the thing where it's like you're recognizing, hey, this is something I need the most for me, and
Yeah.
it was.
Yep.
So I understand how that's it's a tough choice.
Yeah.
Wow.
So going out for my first summer was like, since I decided to do that, there was no other choice. There was no choice for me to quit and go home. Like that was my thing for the summer, and I had to finish it because I wasn't going to leave my family and then come back with my tail between my legs,
Absolutely.
3 weeks
No,
in
absolutely.
because I hadn't
Yeah.
sold anything. So my purpose for my first summer was just to get away, to rebuild that confidence in myself, and just like realize that, at that point too, I'd reached a point in my life where I couldn't rely on my mom and dad anymore because of that situation either. My parents, have always been pretty well off and able to take care of me. They bought me a car, 2 cars in my high school career, and they were always an option in college if I needed help, and that went away super quickly. And so I reached a point where I had to start taking care of myself, and I needed to start building the skills to like emotionally support my family and be able to take care of myself that way too. And so I saw Southwestern as that like quick way to do that, to get away for 3 months, build up myself and make some money as well so I could take care of myself, pay for college, and they wouldn't have to worry about me, and I could come back, a more emotionally more able to like be there for them and to like maintain, manage, have that emotional intelligence to be someone that my mom could talk to, rather than so that was why that was the only reason why I made it through my first summer.
No, absolutely. First of all, thank you for sharing. That's really vulnerable. I appreciate that. And I commend you for having taken that courage to go do that.
Yeah.
Because it takes ovaries to go do that. So good job. I'm proud. That you don't know me, that might not mean shit, but that I'm a proud person of you.
Thank you.
How early when you were about to leave did you know that that's why you were leaving? Like, what, you know what I'm saying? Like, what? Because at first, and I asked this because it sounds like you're right. You're locked in emotionally. There's no way you're going home.
Yeah.
But that's not what you're thinking about when you're talking to Shayna about the summer over Zoom, right? Like, there had to be a point where you realize this is why I'm actually going instead of to travel. You mentioned the travel, right, earlier?
Yeah.
When did you make that choice?
I think that became apparent to me when I had gotten to a point where I felt like there was no return. So that was when I got to, I think it was in Kansas, when I finally like vocalized it. It was like probably we'd been there for about a week or maybe a week and a half, and we like started having these little powwows to get to know each other a little bit and explain why we were like out for the summer and our emotional purposes. They started coaching us on like picking those things out. And I think that's when I first vocalized it, was like I kind of like realized, like I did this because up till then I think I felt that it was selfish, that I was going out because I needed to leave. Like I just didn't want to be home. I think that's what I thought it was.
But something inside was keeping you, right? Something inside was like, no, this is what I have to do. Because you still left.
Yeah.
Right? Wow.
Yeah. So I think, when I first like vocalized that, I realized that was kind of why I was there, was like during my second week of like virtual sales school.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's bananas. Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I know I am. I wanted to give a quick shout out to the people that make this show possible, the people that bring this show to you. These are people who all sold books, and we're here to give a quick shout out to them in a spotlight about their company and what they're up to. So if you're interested, or if after listening to this, you're kind of wanting to know a little bit more, feel free to click on the links below to connect with these people. These are from an excerpt I have with them from a podcast that I do on the side. It's called Executive Exercises, where we take all our sponsors and they come into a think tank and share some awesome ideas about how to grow their business, specifically on different topics. Go check that out. But I pulled some of the comments that they had explaining what they do and who they're looking for on their companies. And so if that sounds like you, like I said, click below. Hope you enjoy. That's okay. And actually, and this is good to, I had Nick kind of explain this a little bit too, but because I've been in the insurance industry before, for people who are listening, like, how do you make 115% commission?
The way I explain it to people is the insurance companies we represent, so we're a broker. All these companies we work with, they know they're not really going to be making any money off the sales that I make for the first several years. But they don't care about that. They know these clients are going to be on the books for 10, 15, 20, 25 years. So they know they're going to make money over the long haul. And so part of the reason agents are able to make so much is there's all these companies out here and they're all competing for the broker's business, because these companies don't actually have their own in-house sales force. They have independent contractors. And so if their compensation or their commission levels that they offer aren't competitive, I'm not going to place any business with them.
Hello, off schedule moment. Wanted to tell you about Southwestern Real Estate. They're 99% drama free, only 99, not 99.9. So it's a bit spicy, kind of like this episode. Anyway, they will learn you to kick ass at real estate. So make sure you guys click the link below, get in touch with them. Okay, back to work. Bye. That'll do for now. Like I said, make sure you click below to get some more information. And now back to the show.
Yeah.
And there's no way. So you get that first one. And I mean, the first customer always feels amazing, but to you, it must have been not only because you'd gone so long without selling anything in general, but maybe because you were validated in the choice. Because here's the deal. You mentioned this earlier and I didn't say anything, but you said, I weirdly got lucky and started getting sit downs. That wasn't luck.
Yeah.
You and I both know that you're being humble about it. That wasn't luck. What happened, and for people listening who didn't sell books, or if this is your first summer and you're listening, what happened was the 3 weeks weren't for nothing.
Yeah.
Those 3 weeks, you sharpened up your approach. You sharpened up how you presented yourself. You sharpened up your confidence.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it just happens. I don't know why. I remember when it happened for me, right? But all of a sudden, something clicks and you go, oh.
Yeah.
Okay. And then all of a sudden it feels like it's luck the first few times, but then also you start realizing, no, it's because I did the work to get here. And it makes sense now that it's starting to work. It makes sense because you put in the effort. So you were, this whole time you're sharpening that and you feel, I mean, it has to be ecstasy. I mean,
yeah,
to get that first one. Wow.
Absolutely. Yeah. It felt pretty good.
It's like, I mean, I've popped big zits before, but it can't be anything close to that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like that crack in your spine you've been working on for 2 years from that weird time that you sat down to watch that movie at your friend's couch, and you're like, that's been and all of a sudden you just, I don't know, bend over to pick up the remote.
Yep. Pops right back. Yep.
2 inches taller. Wow. So, okay. So 3 weeks in, one customer, how did the rest of the summer, because you topped first year. I mean, that had to have been a ramp up. How did you utilize that, and how did you carry that momentum?
I think pretty much after my first customer, things just kind of started clicking for me. I think that was like the boost that I needed. Like I was like, okay, yeah, like I get it now. So I
took the lid off the hoop.
Yeah. And so I am nothing if not consistent. That's always been more of a problem for me, honestly, is my consistency is like a fault of mine. Because I think after that, I pretty much averaged like 200, like never broke 300 units, but I sold like 200 some units for the rest of the summer. And so I made like the minimum to get to Sizzler, like 1,500 units, which back in my first summer was still pretty good.
Yeah, that's like like $12,000 for the summer
in profit. Yeah. So I did pretty decent considering it took me that long to figure it out, and I only had 5 weeks after that to get my shit together. So
yeah, I understand. It's funny because like being consistent, and that's like that. I like that. That's what people should use when they ask them at a job interview. What's your biggest weakness? Oh, I'm consistent.
I'm too consistent.
I'm never going to give you 100%, but it's always going to be more than 80%.
Yeah, it'll be 83. Always. Yeah.
That's my biggest weakness. That's good. That's a good answer. Okay. So, all right. So you hit Sizzler and you were like, I got to come back.
Yeah.
What did you, before we get to why you came back and stuff, what did your parents say when you came back the first time? I mean, how did your mom and your dad and your family, because how was that feeling? And because you changed, you were a different woman, right? You're a different person. So the Kora that they saw leave for sales school is a different Kora that then came home in whatever September or whenever it was that you got home. What was that like?
Yeah. So I know my mom's probably going to listen to this because I told her I was going on the podcast, but my mom was honestly like,
Hey, Mom.
yeah,
Hey, Denise.
I think she'll disagree, and she might be a little mad at me for saying this, but my mom was like not a Southwestern supporter until very recently. Like there was a lot of fight back on that, and she would be mad because she'd be like, "I supported you this whole time," and she did.
Well,
like,
she was a supporter
there's
of
a
you.
difference. Yeah, but she did
there's
not
a difference between
support-
supporting you, but still being skeptical about the company. I'm not a dad, but I get it.
Yeah. So she did not agree that Southwestern was the best path for me at that time, which I can totally understand, from the outside looking in, how it was a risky path considering what was going on at home. But so I remember my first summer, she told me that I remember I listened to her talk to Shayna on the phone because they didn't do a parent visit since it was COVID.
COVID.
No.
Yeah.
So I was sitting in the living room when my mom answered the phone. She put Shayna on speaker and let me listen to Shayna talk about me.
Denise
ask my
is
mom
the
about
baddest.
me. She is. So cool. I was like, wow, okay, power move. And so I was like, my mom's going to tell her that I can't go, like she is. And I remember, specifically, I was really shocked when she was like, yeah, I believe Kora can do it. I think she will. I can't remember exactly what she said. She said something about not really liking it, but she knew that I could do it. And I was like, okay, so I'm going to go do it because she didn't say I can't. So I'm going to go do it. But I remember, my mom and dad didn't come to the awards ceremony after the summer because COVID was still kind of suspect with my dad's health. And so I remember my mom and I didn't really talk about Southwestern too much. I would bring it up at events and stuff when I would come home to visit, but I never really talked to her about it. I think for probably until closer to my beginning of my second summer or after, because I was I felt like she did not support me in it completely. And I know she supported me, but she didn't support the journey I was taking, I didn't feel. And so I didn't talk to her a whole bunch about it. I talked to my sisters a lot more about it just because, my sisters they're older than me, so they're a lot like my mom, but they're a little bit more they'll pretend to support me even if they don't think it's a bad idea. And so I feel like I can talk to them about it. But I didn't talk about it a whole bunch with my family because I think I felt a little bit like they just didn't think it was smart. So I felt self-conscious about it. But I could tell that my mom began to be a little frustrated after my first summer because I didn't need help as much anymore because I became incredibly independent my first summer. And my mom and I are very similar people where we're very very confident, we're very sure of ourselves and independent. And so I think when that was my goal my first summer, is to be independent so they didn't have to worry about me. But I think my mom wished that I had needed her a little bit more after my first summer. But if I had to guess, but I could tell that there was a difference in me, and I could tell that they could tell that I was different, and I think I also, when I came back from my first summer, I did what I went out to do, and I was able, to be there for my family, and let them talk to me about the things that had gone on throughout the summer while I was gone, and be there for them emotionally for things that were going on with my dad or, other things that are going on. It was I was kind of more of the foundation of the emotional support side of the family. I was the one that they came to when they needed to talk. And, I gave them advice about things. That's kind of when I noticed that started, I was someone that they could confide in. And so that felt really good that I had accomplished that. That's what I kind of set out to do. And I felt it paying off, and I felt like I was, doing my part, even though I had left. So I felt like it made up for it. But
yeah, wonderful.
Wow, that is so cool.
Yeah,
thanks for you. So, okay, I was going to ask a little bit about why did you decide to come back? Why did you make why round two? Because I know you said that your third was probably going to be your last because you're already thinking about your second being your last. But why two?
So I decided to come out for a second. I signed my contract to come out for my second on my last week on the bookfield. I was out on the bookfield and I signed the paper. And I decided to do it because I really wanted to try recruiting, that was something that appealed to me a lot because I've always felt in my personal life, I'm very religious. I'm very like a person that I just try to be led by God in all things that I do. That's just kind of how I go about life. I just, whatever feels like he's tugging me in that direction, that's the direction that I'll go. And so I felt that tug to go out for a second summer, and I felt the tug to try to recruit because I've always felt the tug to leadership. Like leadership is something that I constantly feel myself kind of being pulled into my life, even though a lot of times I didn't really feel like I deserved it, or feel qualified. So, and something that I like, one of my favorite quotes, I think I'm going to butcher it, but it's like, God doesn't call the qualified. He calls the, what's the word? It's something like he doesn't call the qualified. He calls the I don't know what the other word is, but
Amy,
the people who
Amy, help us out with this. Amy will,
yeah,
Amy will put it in the chat.
It's something
It's all
about,
good.
yeah, he's not looking for the people who are the most qualified. He's looking for the people who are most like ready and willing, or trusting. He qualifies the called. Yeah, he does not call the qualified. He qualifies the called. And so that's something that I've always, just like felt that he was qualifying me because I was called to do that. And so I just decided, since I've felt that way my entire life in high school, even in college, I felt like I was kind of a leader among my friends. And I felt like I should give it a chance because that was a big part of Southwestern. And I felt that I had been pushed towards Southwestern for a specific reason. And so I finished school. I did my fall semester. After I came back from my first summer, I switched from music education to music business. Because I remember I had a talk with Shayna in the pool at our host family's house about how I didn't want to be a teacher and I don't know why I went to college to be a teacher. And she said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I don't really know. I know I really love music and I'd love to be a musician someday, but I don't feel like that's like a career path. And she said, well, why not? And I said, okay, that's true. And so I went back to college and switched my major to music business. And I liked it. After my fall semester, I had done some more talking to Shayna, and I just decided that school wasn't really the route for me, just kind of where my life had ended up. I didn't really have the money anymore to be paying for school. And I felt like school was kind of a waste of time. When you're a person that's done music your entire life since you were 5, a lot of the classes you take for music are just kind of like repeat. And so I just decided, I was like, if I want to do music, I don't really need to go to school for it. That's something
I know the circle of fifths. We're good.
Yeah, you can totally figure it out on your own. You just have to work hard on it, as a hobby. You don't need to go to school for it. You know what you're doing. If you want to do it, just do it. And so I decided just to take the spring semester to full-time. So I started full-time recruiting with Kelsey Kilpatrick, and because she recruited at the UNK campus, and Shayna would hang out with us too when we were in Lincoln. We would kind of bounce back between UNL and UNK recruiting, and I remember it being extremely challenging. I loved getting to know all the students and talking to them about Southwestern, and I had pretty quickly on, I had someone in the loop to go out for the summer with me. One of my friends, Brandy, that was in band with me. I got her all signed up to go out for the summer. She didn't end up coming out, but it was really powerful to very quickly get someone on board and trust me, to be like, yeah, I want to go out and do that thing. I was like, oh, okay. People trust you and people think it's cool that you did this. So that gave me, it's like your first customer feeling, when you get one of your friends to be like, yeah, that's cool. I want to do that. And so it took me a long time to find my real first years, though. It was really hard. I remember that time I was in debt. Actually, I had to borrow money from Southwestern to full-time because Mark Rao told me that I couldn't have a job in full-time.
That's absolutely true.
Which is true. It was really hard to hear because I have been the type of person that I've had a job since I was 13. So I was like, yeah, I can. You don't know me, Mark Rao. I can have a job in full-time. And then, so Mark Rao convinced me, I guess, because I decided I wasn't going to have a job and I full-timed. So I had to borrow money from the summer, which meant I was going into the summer at minus $2,000. And I was living below my means, living with people, to save on rent and like Kelsey and I kind of split rent for a duplex place in Kearney. So we were like really cutting corners to try to make it work. And it took me until like March, I believe, to get first years to like the ones that I brought out for the summer. So one of them I met floating in the Union at UNK, and the other one was my friend that I knew him in high school through extracurricular stuff. I'd seen him around, and then he came to UNK, and I saw him in choir, and I said, Zach, you're gonna sell books with me this summer. When I came back from my first summer, and he said, no, I'm not. And I said, yeah, you are. And I kind of just worked on him all year until March, and then he signed the contract and he sold books. But
way to go, Zach.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I got both of them signed up to go in March, trained them until May, and then we left for sales school. And yeah, they had great first summers. They did better than I did my first summer, and I was incredibly proud of them. And I only had 2 first years, but we were a top 20 team in the whole company, which was crazy.
Look at that.
First time recruiting, I found some real winners.
Badass.
So, yeah. So that was really cool.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And that set you up for your current job.
Yeah, it really did. I didn't think it would. Like I thought it was hard, like recruiting was hard, but I honestly felt that was the least transferable skill for a while, until after I'd like gotten out of Southwestern. I realized that, yeah, recruiting people is like so much more useful in daily life than selling is. Because getting people to trust you.
It's a different kind of selling. It's a kind of selling that's a little more personal.
Yeah.
It's not a product. You sell yourself in a lot of ways, because even Southwestern is not a tangible product until you get out there, as we've already mentioned, right? You don't really know what you're doing until you're out there.
Yeah.
So you have to sell yourself to people so they can trust you that what you're saying is going to be worth following.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's incredible.
Yes,
that's awesome.
That's my claim to fame in Southwest.
So now we go back. So we've been full circle here, because then you went to your third summer. I wanted to ask you one more thing, and then I think we could go into some ponytails. But
sure.
Did you feel? And I think I know the answer to this, but I'm asking genuinely from the standpoint of, when I left was 2016, and so that was still 6 years ago. A lot of people have changed. Left leadership has changed a ton since even the last couple of years. From my understanding, my brother's org and my brother's leadership style has been on lately anyway, that leaving feels okay and natural. Did you have that experience when you were saying, hey, I'm done here, I'm moving on? How'd that experience go for you? And just so for context for people listening, it has not always been that way. At least, I mean, there's, as recent as like when I was there, it was pretty. Some people were really, really talked to into staying when they probably shouldn't have. But I've heard that's changed. So I wanted to hear from your perspective.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's still probably some people who kind of slip under the category. And I feel like it's hard to know, maybe, who should come out again for another summer and who shouldn't.
Yeah.
It's definitely hard to know. So I definitely don't like blame anyone, that was convinced. Like, I don't blame anyone for convincing me to come out for a third summer. Because to be honest with you, my second and my third summer were like, I did not produce very well personally at all. But I don't think that was my reason. Like, I don't think that was the reason why I was meant to come out for my second and third summer. I was meant to be out there to help other people. Like, my second summer, the only reason I was there, like, looking back, was to Madeline and Zach. Like, it was not for me. It was for them.
Same. And my third and fourth were especially that way. But I understand. And
same with this summer. Like, I was in Lainey Raymaker's org. We were the number 1 org in the company.
Lainey's the shit.
Yeah, Lady Make It Raymakers.
Lady Make It Raymakers.
Yeah. And we had a top org this summer.
That's
we were the number 1 org. And I don't think I was out there for myself at all. I know that I did not do what I, had wished and hoped for, but I acknowledged that my leadership was needed in the group. They needed, without me, things would have been different. And so I'm glad that I had an impact on the first years this summer. So I think I don't know. I think I was definitely nudged to come out for my third summer, but I don't think it was like, no, I didn't feel like I was forced to. because I
yeah.
really almost didn't come out for a third summer.
No.
I cut it pretty close.
Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I know I am. I wanted to give a quick shout out to the people that make this show possible, the people that bring this show to you. These are people who all sold books, and we're here to give a quick shout out to them in a spotlight about their company and what they're up to. So if you're interested, or if after listening to this, you're kind of wanting to know a little bit more, feel free to click on the links below to connect with these people. These are from an excerpt I have with them from a podcast that I do on the side. It's called Executive Exercises, where we take all our sponsors and they come into a think tank and share some awesome ideas about how to grow their business specifically on different topics. Go check that out. But I pulled some of the comments that they had explaining what they do and who they're looking for on their companies. And so if that sounds like you, like I said, click below. Hope you enjoy. On a note from I'm trying to think, like, if I was looking into this, and for people who are listening who might be like, hey, this actually, I want to learn more about this. What's the barrier to entry? Like, maybe I'm sitting here and I'm like, man, that sounds cool, but I don't know shit about insurance. Like, why would I want to go talk to people?
Yeah, the barriers to entry, I think, are really pretty low. Everybody would probably have a different opinion, but in terms to just be able to get out the door and go sell, you've got to get a license. I have my life and health license because you needed the health license at Family Heritage, or if you want to sell Medicare products or certain types of health products,
Right.
You have to have the health side. But what it takes to get either one or both of those licenses is roughly the same. You take a study course. You may need to study for 15 hours. You may need to study as many as 30 hours. But like with Cardinal, we've got a pretty cool course. From studying to getting your license can be as quick as like 7 to 10 days if you really 15 to 20 if you're moving at a medium pace. And beyond that, if it takes you longer than that, you're just not really all that motivated to start because it's not a difficult process.
Yo, let's get off schedule one last time. Go watch a movie, or maybe you should figure out how to work at EnLight.Energy. Alex Black is crushing it down there, and a former DSM, Julio Hernandez, are both running this company. And man, they are cranking 10 people on their team and growing. It's enough that Alex only has to sell like one thing every other week and make over 6 figures. So if you want to learn more about that and maybe help change the planet, click on the link below. That'll do for now. Like I said, make sure you click below to get some more information. And now back to the show. And like you said, like you said it very well, is it's hard to know who should or shouldn't come back. So I don't ever blame anybody for trying to keep you in there.
No.
I mean, there's very, very few instances where you're like, they're clear is how rare they are, where it's like that person's for sure should not come out.
Should not, yeah.
But most of the people, it's like, it's honestly hard to know. It's honestly because there's so many stories, and we've heard them on the show, so many stories of people who first, second, third summer, not so hot, or they were okay, or they never grew, or they decrease. And then also the fourth, fifth, sixth summer, they come out and boom, they bust open, and it's like a whole, so it's hard to know. Who's to say? I guess I was curious also after your third summer, when you were like, for sure, this is it. How did that experience go for you as far as like, I know from Danny, he's pretty good at being like, okay, if that's what you feel like you need to do, go ahead and go. That's rare. So I just wanted to hear what that's like, because I never really experienced that.
Yeah. So this summer, I never talked to Danny and Aisha, like telling them officially that I wasn't coming back. I think it was just kind of unspoken since they knew because they knew, but because also I checked out late, so they weren't in Nashville when I checked out. So I actually met with Ryan Groom. And the conversation with Ryan Groom is pretty much what I expected it to be, considering, I've gotten to know Ryan Groom pretty well, but I think I had the same conversation with Ryan Groom last summer where I was like, I'm not coming out for a third. Like, this is it. This is all I needed. And so he was prepared for when I came in this year to be like, so Kora, how was your last summer? I was like, it was really good. I'm glad I did it. And it was really tough, but like, this is a good place to close it out. And, we talked through all the normal things we do, how much money I made, versus, how much money you get, talk and talk about the things you felt good about. And do you regret what you did? And I said, nope. And he said, good. It was nice working with you. And I said, thanks, you too. And that's pretty much
Groom is so cool.
I love
Groom. Groom is I'm excited for him to not be working with Southwestern so we can have him on the show. Heck, we might even make an exception for Groom.
There you go. Yeah.
We make exceptions every once in a while. Danny was one, he was on the show, but he's my brother, so whatever.
Yeah, family.
But
you should bring Groom in.
but Groom is, I mean, he's just fun to talk to. He's a
Mhm.
very interesting guy, very knowledgeable guy, very
Yep.
wise for his age.
Wise, honest.
Very honest,
Honesty.
tell you how it is, but in a kind way. He's such a good dude.
Mhm.
I can see president of the company vibes in the future for Ryan
Yeah,
Groom.
yeah. I've always thought
Yeah.
that. I really
Yeah,
have.
he's great.
Mhm.
Yeah, Groom is a stud. Actually, both Grooms, Amy as well.
Yes, I like Amy too. I haven't
Yeah,
gotten to know her as much, but yeah.
Amy and I identify a lot in the um honesty, blunt honesty, or like just tell it
Mhm.
how it is
Yeah.
category. Like I remember a long time ago I wrote like on my blog. This is when I still kept up with my blog, but I wrote a piece about, because I was full-timing, and I usually only wrote on my blog when I was emotional. And I was
Mhm.
pissed off because some parents in my face, while doing a parent visit with this kid that I thought was really sharp and could do well, I
Yeah.
watched them like break them down and tell them in less words, you can't do this, not because you're not allowed, but because you're going to fail. Like, we don't
Yeah.
believe that you can do this. And to watch a kid get told that from their parents is brutal. So I went and wrote it,
Yeah.
and it was like you could hear the sassiness a bit in it. But
Mhm.
Amy was like, I love it.
Yeah.
She's like, this is great. Her
Mhm.
and a couple other people who are no longer the company, but so I always appreciate that about her. And so they're both so honest and true that way. So
Mhm.
just love letter to the Grooms real quick.
Yeah.
Love
Yeah.
you guys. You guys are great. Cool stuff. So I'm glad that transition was smooth for you. That's pretty awesome.
Mhm.
All right, let's you want to head into some ponytail stuff? Tell us
Sure.
a story. So for people who listen who don't know, that's why the name of the podcast is Ponytails. We are the ponies, because obviously we went and sold books, but also
Mhm.
it's a double entendre on the people who we consider to be like big buyers on the book field. We call them ponies,
Mhm.
people who just were out there to buy. So we ask our guests to have their best story or their favorite story, whether that be a customer or something they learned or an important part of their cycle of growing up in the program, to share the stories. It could be funny, it could be crazy, it could be tragic. We've had the variety. So just, this is a good time to buckle up. It's always a fun one. So Kora, the mic is yours. Let us know about some of your ponytails.
Yeah. So honestly, to be completely honest with you, whenever I listen to these things, like everyone's ponytails are really like crazy, or like, yeah, they're always just really crazy. And to be honest with you, my 3 summers were probably the most chill summers that I've like, when I listen to other people's experience, I'm like, what was happening to you guys? Like everyone liked me. Everyone was nice. Like no one really ever yelled at me. Like
Never
it
got
was,
arrested.
no, like it was pretty, I had such a chill Southwestern career. Like I feel like it's just my vibe. I've always been someone that just seeks to get along with other people. And so I think that rubs off on the families that I meet. But I think probably the only thing that I ever like look back on in my Southwestern career really, and I just like think about just like what the hell was I doing, was I remember my first summer, like I drove a 2009 Chevy Malibu. I still do. It made it through all 3 summers, even though I T-boned someone. It's still kicking. She's a boat. She's a monster. But I remember I was driving this car through Ohio, and we sold right along the river. And I remember this whole day, this one day, I got to where I marked on my map, and I get to the beginning of the gravel road that I'm working for the day. It's huge, so long. Like I would all the time in my turf, I would just pick a gravel road and I'd follow it, and that would be my day. Like there's just tons of houses out in the middle of nowhere on these roads, and so I was like, this is the gravel road. This is the road today. And it was right along the river. So I was like, oh, it's going to be beautiful. I'm like self-talking all the way there. I'm like, this is going to be the best day. It's going to be beautiful out there. The river is gorgeous. Like in the morning, it's always got like this fog over it. So it's just really pretty. Like when the fog starts
That's awesome.
clearing and the sun's coming out. And I was like, this is going to be great. And I get there and I realize that I crossed the bridge, and now the bridge is on the other side. And I get to the gravel road and I notice that the river flows through everybody's driveway. Like everyone on this road, like everyone has to get through the river to get to their house. And I'm like looking up these driveways, and they all drive like Jeeps and trucks and like these giant cars, because they have to drive through the river to
So
get.
it's like bigger than a creek. 'Cause I'm thinking
It's a
river. I'm thinking
river.
like the river, but it's like
pretty much the Ohio River. Like, I don't know if it was
Hold on.
like the Ohio River, but it was like at least like a branch of it or something. Like the
what town
river.
is this? I gotta look this up.
I was in, where was I at? Somewhere around, I wasn't in Pomeroy. I was in Marietta, Ohio, like around rural Marietta, Ohio. Fun fact, they make all the street signs for Nebraska in Marietta, Ohio. So dad told me that.
No way.
So, yeah, he was like, they make all the street signs. I was like, no way. But so yeah, this one day I like pull up on the gravel road, and I just like every single driveway I see, the river is running through it. And so I was like, well, let's try it. So I like pull my car down, and I get to the river, and it's like already like the river is like halfway up my wheel. And I was like, this is the beginning of the river. Like, I can't drive my car through this. Like, there's no way. So I was like, okay, that's fine. No big deal. Pull my car out, park it like in the ditch. And I spend the whole day running through the river, up driveways to these people's houses. I ran up the driveway through the river. River's like anywhere from like knee to hip deep. And I'm just like backpacks on, carrying my tablet, running, like wading through the river all fucking day. And I'm soaked, just like dripping, sweaty, like fucking gross. And the river's not clean. Like, it's gross. It's muddy and nasty.
Were you wearing at least Chacos?
Chacos every day.
Thank goodness.
Every day. But oh my God, I smelled like shit that night. And I remember I came home, and I have a picture somewhere, but I had like braided my hair, and my braids had like fallen out, and my hair had been like wet and re-dried and stuff like over and over again from being splashed, and I had like mud up my back, and just so something. I don't think it was the Ohio River, but maybe this stretch or something. Probably that
like
stretch.
A tributary here on the right?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't remember.
It's probably this right here.
Probably. Yep, I think so. So I was running through that all day long because my car could not make it up. Somewhere, if you follow that thing, there's just houses, and there's driveways, and they go right through it.
Yeah,
and you're
like, that
is
a trip. What?
I just remember that day, and I was so tired, and I felt disgusting, but it was probably one of the most fun days of my life. Like, once I got over the fact that it was a shitty situation, I was just like laughing my ass off at how I was showing up to all these doors, just like my toes covered in mud, and I was like soaking mud up my back. And I was like, hey, do you have a quick place to sit inside? And they're like, no, absolutely not. And I remember a couple of moms like gave me different pairs of pants and stuff throughout the day, and they were nice about it, but it was a tough day.
Yeah, this is crazy. That is so good. I've never heard of anything like that.
Yeah, it was nasty, but
just get
it was
a boat.
Funny. Yeah, just driving a boat down the river. But it was, and the bugs were bad in that area too. It was just getting eaten by skeeters all day. But
talk about no excuses.
Yeah. I look back at the day, and I was like, wow, I really can't believe.
That's you getting qualified as the called. It's what that is called.
He qualified the call. Yep.
He qualified you. You got baptized every time you crossed that dang river.
Yep. Holy water.
Holy water.
Yep.
Literally. Holy river.
Yes. It was.
You're the mom of the house. I'm soaked.
At
least it didn't get too hot. I mean, it probably cooled you down.
It kept me pretty cool, because it was like a cooler. Yeah, like running water is pretty cool typically, but it was muddy, very muddy. Yeah.
That shower after must have been glorious.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like I was always first customer.
Yeah. Yes. I could tell you about my car accident too. My first summer, that one was a little wild.
Yeah, that would be. You say it wasn't crazy. Nothing crazy happened. You got in a car and you T-boned someone.
It doesn't feel like that crazy situation, because I really did not handle it properly whatsoever. And my mom, I don't know if I told her the truth about this one either. So if she listens to this, she's gonna kill me. But yeah. So my first summer, it was like literally my last day of selling. Like the next week, I was starting deliveries. No, I was done delivering. The next day was like my last day deliveries to catch the people I'd missed. And I was only I was going to deliver 3 families. And then the plan was after that, I was just going to go home and hang out with my host family. They were going to take me out for lunch, and I was just going to thank them because I had to leave early. So I did that all by myself with them. Brian and Sherry Robinson of Pomeroy, Ohio, the best people in the world. But
host
yes,
family, especially that first summer host families.
Goat host family. I've missed them so much. But yeah, so end of the day, just finished counting all my books at the storage unit. I transferred them all over to like Linda. I think that was one of my roommates my first summer. And like I was pretty much all done. Just had the books that I had to deliver the next day. Started driving home at like 2 or 3 in the morning. And I was tired. I was so tired. And so I stopped at a gas station and got like an energy drink because I was like, honestly, it doesn't matter if I sleep. This is my last day tomorrow, so I can catch up tomorrow. But I got an energy drink because I just needed to make it home and started driving home. I was really tired, but I wasn't really worried about falling asleep driving. And because I'd like shotgun this energy drink. So I started feeling more awake. And I got behind this car and they were going the speed limit for a while, but I was going faster because I was trying to get home. It was like 3 a.m. So I was going fast, but I was like, just follow him, Kora. Like if you come up on a cop and get pulled over, you're just gonna be pissed. So I was just following him. And then finally get to an area where I can pass them, a passing zone. So I blinker and I start passing them, and they do not blinker and they turn right in front of me. And I T-bone them going like 75, 80 miles per hour and just obliterate their car. Like their doors smash, like their windshield shatters, driver's window shatters, like bad. And I just like, I have no idea how it was not bad, like how none of us got hurt at all. I have no idea. God was literally watching over me. It was the most terrifying experience of my life. But it was crazy. But I hit them and I just sit in my car for a minute. And if anyone's wondering, if you get in a car accident, your music does keep playing. So it's really anticlimactic. I just listened to like Megan Thee Stallion hit this family going 80. And I finally like realize what happened, and I get out of my car and I run over to them because I'm fine. So I'm like, shit, like, did I hurt them? So I get over to their car. They're okay. They're like, oh my God, are you okay? It's these 2 guys. And I was like, man, this is bad. Their car's totaled. And so I was talking to them and I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And they're like, no, it's our fault. And I was like, I feel really bad though. Your car looks bad. Like, how can I help? And they're like, can you just like give us a ride home? I was like, well, sure. Where do you live? They're like, literally down the road. And terrible idea. Women on the bookfield do not do this. But
yes. Also, you didn't call the cops.
No, I let 2 strange men into my car, drove them home, and I felt so bad for destroying their car. I opened up my money bag that I'd been carrying around, handed them $300 and said sorry and left. I went home.
And you never called the cops?
I never called the cops. I was trying to go home. I needed to go to bed. Shayna had called me like 8 times. I just did not answer. I got home and she was like, where have you been? And I was like, I don't want to talk about it. And I went to bed.
What happened to their car?
I have no clue. I never saw them again.
What happened to your car?
My car's fine. I literally same car. It's fine. Like almost no damage.
But like the nose and anything?
Almost no damage.
Not get damage?
I have no idea. I think I had to replace my headlight. There was like a tiny crack in it and something fell out of my car. But when I got home, my dad just threw it away. So I was like, okay. I don't know. No damage to my car.
These could be hypothetical stories in case your insurance company's listening or something like that.
Yeah, this is hypothetical. Yeah.
Of course. That's what you would have done.
Yeah.
This is a podcast for entertainment, so nothing that we've said here can be traced back. It's all good.
Made up story, yeah.
Yeah. Who knows? Who's to say?
I don't even. Well, and then I forgot this detail too. One of the guys in the car gave me his phone number.
He like was hitting cute. Me. He's like, oh my gosh.
I still have his phone number.
She corrugated.
Yeah.
She thick corrugated.
Yeah.
Have you called him? Have you texted him?
No. He tried to text me like the next day and I was like, sorry, I'm still working for the summer. which I was.
You
It's
never
my-
like even after like you should just text her back and be
No.
like, "Yo, sup? You
No.
need a manufacturing job?"
I should, yeah. See if he's still living in Ohio.
You probably need a manufacturing job in Ohio.
Probably since I totaled his car. Yeah.
Maybe he'll take you out. Maybe he'll be like,
Maybe that could be a solid option.
I mean,
My mom will be
unless-
happy to hear that.
yeah, that you're
Get a
dating the
boyfriend
guy
out of
that
it.
you crash into.
Yeah.
My mom will be happy to hear that.
That's her biggest concern.
You're like, Mom, it'll come. He'll
Mm.
come at the right time. That's right.
No.
Hey, you just do you. You work. You keep
I
working
am.
yourself. He'll show up.
Yeah, I'm a career woman.
And
I'm not
honestly,
really-
dudes suck. So you know,
they
maybe,
do. Yeah.
Maybe maybe you're better off.
I am. Yeah. Really good
I'm
place.
just speaking from experience. Yeah, men. We suck.
Yeah.
On that note, hey, we've arrived. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. This has been great.
It has been.
My
I was
goodness.
very nervous, so I'm glad it
Really?
ended up going fine. Yeah. I don't really like to talk about myself, so when I have
No.
like that's the whole point of this, and I was like, God, I don't know how I'm gonna have 2 hours of content.
Hey, you leave that to me. That's how I.
You're good. Yeah. Good.
We never intend for it to go long, but it's just a good, fun conversation, and it ends up
Yeah.
here.
Mhm.
I learned new definitions.
Yep.
I found out about the houses with rivers as their
Mhm.
driveways. It's been great. It's been
Yep.
solid. I've learned. We've all grown.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh man, well, thank you so much for coming in. I hope you had a blast.
I did.
We're gonna wrap this one up here, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Hey, we're having a countdown to 200, so hopefully you guys can join and support us. We're trying to find a special episode to do for that time because we feel like it's gonna be a really cool experience. So on that note, we'll get out of here. 192 down, 8 to go. So see you guys later. Thanks for listening. Bye.